That's one of the best podcasts ever. Ever. Top 5 dead or alive. Welcome to Pod Caviar. I'm your host, Tony, coming at you from the Empire of Caviar Studios, located in beautiful Los Angeles, California. How's everybody doing? Wow, going. How's everybody doing? I know it's been a while. Listen, this is why it's important for you to subscribe to not only Pod Caviar, but to the One Gram Army podcast. And this is why I always say, you got two ears, we got two podcasts. So if you're thinking that I'm not doing podcasting because Pod Caviar hasn't released an episode in forever, just chill out, okay? Because I'm still on the One Gram Army podcast with Graham. We just did an episode last week, recently. It just came out. So this is why you got to subscribe, people. You have to subscribe, all right? Hit the subscribe button, and then turn the notification on so that when I release a video or another podcast episode or whatever, you will be notified that the most widely available podcast in the world, Pod Caviar, has just hit the streets like crack in the 80s, all right? You'll never know if you don't subscribe. You got to subscribe to Pod Caviar and the One Gram Army podcast. The last episode, you definitely got to go check out the last episode Graham and I did of the One Gram Army podcast because it is hilarious. We were in tip-top peak shape. Everything was going great. So yeah. And if you miss Pod Caviar and you're like, well, he must have abandoned this because he hasn't done anything in a while. No, bruh. Go to twitch.tv/nothavingit and subscribe to Game Caviar because that's where I stream. I'm going to stream later on today, hopefully, depending on the internet and things. I want to make Wednesday my podcast streaming day. Got to get back on some sort of a schedule. So, yeah, there's plenty of ways to keep up with me. If I'm not podcasting, if I'm not streaming, I'm definitely designing for shirtcaviar.com. Hey, listen, go to shirtcaviar.com and drown yourself into the art. If you want to wear something, if you want a shirt, a hoodie, a canvas print, whatever you find on that website, use code OGA for 10% off your order. It's a digital art gallery. And I'm going to work on making it VR friendly to where it's literally an art gallery where you're like sitting there, but like you got the glasses on and you're walking through and all of the, the exhibits will change. It's a lot easier to do it digitally, especially if we can get photorealistic effects. Man, listen. I got big plans for shirtcaviar.com, but even now you can go there and you can see the art. I just put up a few designs. They're amazing. I did a real cool California shirt. Check it out, man. Go to shirtcaviar.com. Since 2015, shirtcaviar.com has been doing the damn thing, and you need to be a part of it. So just go there. Check it out. All right? Listen. We got a great episode coming up. I'm going to talk about some historical facts. We're getting back to the Pod Caviar roots where we're going to do something that happened in the past and then talk about how it's relevant to the future. So without further ado, let me pull this up, and I'm using trusty old Wikipedia. You hear that playing in the background, right? It's pretty loud. Anyway, back in 1942, the world was at war. The second one. The Second World War. Everybody was fighting against everybody except for the United States of America. We were chilling. One of the few times in the world, in the history of humanity, where a war was going on, like a major conflict, and the United States wasn't a part of it. How crazy is that? You would think, like currently, you would be like, that's inconceivable. But listen, we were chilling until Japan got a little squirrely and attacked Pearl Harbor. Then we got to go at them. But see, here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand that Japan did a lot of damage to Pearl Harbor. Like, people know that, but they also had America shook. They also, like, Pearl Harbor wasn't the only attack that they did on the U.S. They even made it to the mainland. So we're going to talk about the bombardment of Elwood, and we may touch on something other. I think they did. What is this? Here we go. Hold on. Because they have the bombardment of Fort Stevens. And what is that? This occurred in 1942 in the American theater and the Pacific theater of World War II. The Imperial Japanese submarine I-25 fired on Fort Stevens, which defended the Oregon side of the Columbia River's Pacific entrance. So yeah, there's that. Basically, Japan was all over the place. They're not the same Japan that they are today. I'm pretty glad that everybody chose peace. Because, look, here's the thing about the nuke. Like, we all know we dropped nukes on Japan, and then that's how the war ended. But if Japan didn't, and like, there was some people in Japan that was like, no, we could keep fighting them. And the United States was like, well, we'll keep dropping these bombs on you. Shit was going to get really hectic. I'm glad peace was the outcome, because complete, utter destruction would have been the alternative, and not just for Japan, but for like the earth itself in its entirety, because we kept dropping nukes. Let's say we dropped 2 nukes, and then Japan was like, oh, is that it? And then America is like, oh, word? We can make even bigger nukes. This is what we did, but we never used them in war. But I'm saying that we definitely could have. Like, the use of nuclear weapons today is more like a taboo thing, where it's like, oh, yeah, we don't really do that. We're not going to do that. We have them, but we're not going to use them unless somebody probably nukes us, you know. Things were different back in World War II days. But yeah, let's talk about the bombardment of Elwood. Shout out to Wikipedia. They're looking for donations again. So the bombardment of Elwood during World War II was a naval attack by a Japanese submarine against United States coastal targets near Santa Barbara, California. Are you surprised? Because I didn't go to school out here in California. I went to school in Baltimore, on the other side of the country, East Coast. They didn't tell us about this. They did not tell us about this in the history books. Most of the times where they talked about the United States mainland getting attacked by an enemy force during a time of war, it was like the Revolutionary War. Right? Or like the Civil War, but that's like us slitting our own wrist. You feel me? But like, it wasn't like World War II was talked about. We're going to talk about something else that we did learn about in school that people don't know now, which I think that they don't talk about in school anymore. But yeah, the Japanese sent a submarine, and they would like post up on the coast and then light them up. It goes on to say, following the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in Hawaii, 7 Japanese submarines patrolled the American coast. They sank 2 merchant ships and damaged 6 more, skirmishing twice with the U.S. Navy, air, or sea forces. By the end of December, the submarines had all returned to friendly waters to resupply. However, several had gone to Kwajalein. I hope I said that right. And would pay a return visit to American waters. One of those was the Imperial Japanese Navy submarine I-17. The I-17 displaced 3,654 long tons when submerged and was 365 feet 6 inches long. Her armament included 6 20-inch torpedo tubes and 17 torpedoes, plus a 14-centimeter deck gun. She carried 101 officers and men, captained by Commander Kozo Nishino. Whoa, sorry. The bombardment happened at around 7 p.m. 1900 on 23rd February 1942. The I-17 came to stop at opposite the Elwood field. And basically, the captain ordered the deck gun to just blow some shit up. Really, it was an oil field, so they had blew up some tanks and let's see, a storage facility. They didn't cause any major damage, and I think that's why it gets left out of history books. But it is, to me, there's a sense that America was never really attacked by enemies during a time of war. The mainland. But it's like, yeah, no, it's happened. They didn't really do shit, but it played into the mind state of fear-mongering through a minor attack on mainland America. That attack didn't do any damage. There was a skeleton crew there. I don't even think they killed anybody or injured anyone. It was just damage to the infrastructure, the facilities. But in people's minds, they started fleeing inland. So people got the hell up out of Santa Barbara. Pack your bags. We gotta go, honey. The Japs are coming. That's what they used to say. The Japanese are coming, you know. So they left. Fear mongering. That is one of the most effective tools in anything. I mean, just think of that. Just think of that. It says firing in the dark on a submarine buffeted by waves. It was inevitable that the rounds would miss their target. They were just blindly shooting. I bet these guys were drunk as fuck, still celebrating Pearl Harbor, and they're like, I bet you can't hit. Doesn't this sound like it? They were just bullshitting around, drinking, having a good time. It's probably the officers just having a brief sense of celebration. I'm like, I bet you can't fucking hit that oil rig. I bet you can't hit that storage facility. Fuck it, we're at war. We're gonna post up. They're just drunk shooting, and then those actions caused a lot of people to, like I said, move. They ran. People were on edge. Not only was the country at war, but the enemy was not just right next door. They were like creeping in the door, like the door. What the fuck was that? You know how your house will be silent all day until you're home alone. Then it starts making weird sounds, and you're like, or if you're in the shower, you see the man where the dude is like slathered, covered in soap, but he's like peeking out around the shower curtain, and it's like when you're in the shower and you hear something weird. Like that was Japan, bruh. Pearl Harbor was them beating on the door, the front door. And then while everybody's looking at the front door, the back door is creeping open. They're coming for you. That breeds fear on a maximum level. Whew. Sheesh. It was only a 20-minute attack. See, these guys were drunk, bruh. These guys were drunk fucking around. It says after 20 minutes, the gunners ceased fire and the submarine sailed away. Like, come on, man. Estimates of the number of explosive shells fired ranged from 12 to 25. Even though he caused light damage, Nishino had achieved his purpose, which was to spread fear along the American West Coast. So this is why. Mission accomplished. Fear mongering. This happened on February 23rd. It was like, people, they ran from Santa Barbara. They were scared and I'm pretty sure it was big news when it happened. So everybody saw that and everybody was scared. Mission accomplished. We weren't trying to really tear shit up. We did that in Pearl Harbor. This is just letting y'all know that that back door is crept open and we're creeping in. If we want to, we could get you. Kind of like how Graham and I talk about subscribing to the podcast. Listen, you could do it on your own, or we can come get you. But this was something that I think about periodically. The events of World War II. I love World War II. It's something that I followed and done a lot of research on. And these things are events that are very true, which don't get talked about that often nowadays. But understand that fear mongering back then is not too different than fear mongering now, and that the smallest event can cause a lot of people to just get scared. They start looking around. They start getting nervous. They tugging at their shirts, loosening their ties. This happens on the stock market all the time. Fear is fear. It doesn't matter what form it's in. And even though this was a minor attack, people were scared. So scared that on February 24th, 1942, over the skies of Los Angeles, one late night, it was quiet, it was chill. Everybody was just, I don't know, man, just understanding they were in a country at war. But then all of a sudden the night sky lit up with many different anti-aircraft batteries shooting into the sky in what is described as the Battle of Los Angeles. Lovely Wikipedia has it as the Battle of Los Angeles, also known as the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, is the name given by contemporary sources to a rumored attack on the continental United States by Imperial Japan and the subsequent anti-aircraft artillery barrage which took place from late 24 February to early 25th February 1942. So the 24th to the 25th, overnight, over Los Angeles, California. This was less than 3 months after the U.S. entered World War II. But as I was saying, think about how the country acted when we went to war in the Middle East. Not this one. Think of the Persian Gulf War in the 90s. Did it really change your day-to-day activities? Think about it. I'm going to take a drink from my coffee and I'll let you think about it. Unless you were in the military or knew somebody that was in the military or somebody that got deployed, just regular American working at Wendy's. Did that change how you did your day-to-day activities? Did you fear? Were there fear-mongering? Did you think that Iraq was going to attack mainland America? Did you have a definite, worrisome feeling in your stomach. You know how you get that feeling in your stomach when you're worried? Ooh, ooh. You know how you get that feeling? Am I going to be late? That feeling, you know? Did I take the chicken out for it to be thawed? That feeling. More so severe when you're a kid, but still. That fear. Is that check going to clear? Ooh, that fear. That fear in your stomach. Did you have that? Did you think that enemy forces were going to attack American mainland? When's the last time America had that real threat? Was it the Cold War? It had to have been. Past World War II? This happened a day after the bombardment of Elwood. And do you think that the bombardment of Elwood, which was 12 to 25 shells, which destroyed a storage facility and an oil tank, do you think that played a part into the reaction of or the events of the Battle of Los Angeles? Of course it did. Of course. Of course. And there were ranges of excuses or what people thought happened. It was aliens. It was the Japanese. What was it though? Because I can tell you it wasn't the Japanese and it wasn't aliens. What happened was it was a false alarm. There was no invasion by enemy airplanes. There was no attack by the Japanese, some mass scale attack on Los Angeles by the Japanese. It just wasn't what people thought it was. It wasn't War of the Worlds. So aliens didn't just show up. Like, why would aliens show up in the middle of a world war? You would think that they would know what was going on. And even if they didn't, they would show up and be like, oh, not now. We're out of here. People saw something in the sky that night. That is true. But it was just a weather balloon. I'm dead serious. Look it up. The Battle of Los Angeles, 1942. In 1983, the U.S. Office of Air Force History attributed the event to a case of war nerves triggered by a lost weather balloon and exacerbated by stray flares and shell bursts from adjoining batteries. Yeah. But like I said, the bombardment of Elwood planted that seed that rapidly grew into that feeling in your stomach because we knew the back door was creeping up. Remember? Because they already was beating and kicking on the front door with Pearl Harbor. They blew that thing off the hinges. So we were all looking at the front door, but the back door was creeping open. And so we had the bombardment of Elwood, which led to the Battle of Los Angeles. Both of those events led to the internment of Japanese Americans. We're getting in deep. We're getting in deep. We're getting in deep. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said that I learned this in school, but as I've gone through my life, most of the Americans that I know, that when I bring this up, they're like, what? What was the internment of Japanese Americans? Well, what does Wikipedia have to say about it? In the United States during World War II, about 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry, most of whom lived on the Pacific coast, were forcibly relocated and incarcerated in concentration camps in the western interior of the country. Approximately 2/3 of the internees were United States citizens. These actions were ordered by President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after Imperial Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. Listen. You understand listen to what I just read. These actions were ordered by President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after Imperial Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. Can you imagine if, let's say, Africa wasn't a continent, but one big ass country, the biggest one ever, and then decided to do what Japan did? Understand the ramifications of taking U.S. citizens from your own country that have blood that's traced back to your greatest foe during a world war where they secretly and surprise attacked you. You take them and throw them into concentration camps because why? And then think about it. Like I said, if it was Africa, oh my God. I'm not even going to say it because you already know where I'm going with that one. And it could have been Jamaica. Shit. I mean, you know, like that's crazy, bruh. That's wild. It says of the 127,000 Japanese Americans who were living in the continental United States at the time of the Pearl Harbor attack, 112 resided on the West Coast. And then it goes down and breaks down their bloodlines to their traces them back to Japan. The internment is considered to have been a manifestation of racism, though it was implemented to mitigate a security risk which Japanese Americans were believed to pose. The scale of the internment in proportion to the size of the Japanese American population far surpassed similar measures which were undertaken against German and Italian Americans who were mostly non-citizens. So, America, and that's very important because this shows the arrogance of America. Germany, Hitler and Germany, Nazi Germany, the Nazis, they were the top dog as far as who we needed to be focused on. And I know Japan was a formidable foe too, but the reason why this statement, though it was implemented to mitigate a security risk which Japanese Americans were believed to pose, the scale of the internment in proportion to the size of the Japanese American population far surpassed similar measures which were undertaken against German and Italian Americans, who were mostly non-citizens. Why is that? Well, it's because Japan actually kicked the front door in and crept in the back door. Japan bombarded Elwood. Japan didn't have anything to do with the Battle of Los Angeles, but because they did Pearl Harbor and Elwood and people were fleeing inwards and scared shitless, they had to gather up all the Japanese Americans and put them in concentration camps. But don't call them concentration camps because that's what those other bad guys that we're fighting against were doing. Call them internment camps because they pose a security risk. Hold on. My music just got loud from the... Oh, I know why. Okay. All right, we're back. Because they posed a quote-unquote security risk. But Mussolini He was the leader of the Italians, right? Right. Mussolini. Yeah. And then Adolf Hitler, he was the leader of the Germans. But Germany never attacked mainland America, right? There was the attack that damaged the Statue of Liberty, but neither Germany or Italy did what Japan did. Neither Italy or Germany had America on its heels like Japan did. Because if they did, we would have nuked Italy, we would have nuked Germany, we would have nuked Japan, we would have sat back and folded our arms and been like, who else wants it? No, nobody? Sign the fucking peace treaty and get the fuck out of here. But no, Japan made it personal between America and Japan when they attacked Pearl Harbor. That does not justify gathering Japanese American citizens and throwing them into concentration camps. It just doesn't. It just doesn't, because you didn't really do it to the Germans that were in America, or the Italians, who were mostly non-citizens, according to this. California defined anyone with a 1/16 or more Japanese lineage as a person who should be interned. Wow. And then, of course, good old America, Colonel Carl Banderstein, the architect of the program, went so far as to say anyone with 1 drop of Japanese blood qualified. That 1 drop rule sounds real familiar, doesn't it? Basically, this whole story is one big lesson in the power of fear mongering and the stupidity of racism. And that's it. Yeah. I wonder how many people that they interned were actually like, let's see. Notable individuals who were interned. Let's see. Holy shit, Sulu? No way. George Takei, American actor, famed for his role in the cult classic. It's a bit bigger than a cult classic now, but Star Trek, was interned at a camp between the ages of 5 and 8. Sulu, bro. America. What is going on? Why was this even a thing? Why was it okay for us to do this, but then look at Hitler and be like, what did you do to those Jewish people? You monster. We got fear mongering. We got front door, back door action. Fear mongering is a byproduct of the front door action. The front door action leads to back door action. And then all of that comes together and becomes racism and hypocrisy. Insane. And for the most part, erased from history books. I can understand the Battle of Los Angeles because it was a false. I mean, it was a false alarm. It wasn't a hoax. It was just a false alarm. But considering how just the day before what happened, the bombardment of Elwood, now you understand how this can be a thing, and how one big event causes ripples that manifest into fear mongering and then racism just because. got a text real quick. Sorry. And we saw the same thing, similar things that happened after 9/11, but there was just angry patriots who were going after people of Middle Eastern descent. And that's not right either. But it's the same concept, fear-mongering. 9/11, front door. But what changed was we didn't gather up all the people of Middle Eastern descent and be like, oh, we're going to put you in these concentration camps because we can't trust you. We can't trust you. So if you could just gather a bag or two and just come with us because we can't trust you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't. We can't trust you. Yeah, no. Like, how stupid does that sound, bruh? How stupid does that sound? That's crazy. It doesn't make sense to do it today. It didn't make sense to do it back then either. For what? And then what do you do after that? How do you go on? Because if you were a Japanese American born citizen and you pledged your allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and you hated what Japan did to Pearl Harbor and their fear-mongering and the front door, back door action, then what do you mean? You're going to come gather me and my family up and throw us in concentration camps because we can't be trusted? I'm sorry, it's just the orders. You gotta, I didn't make the order, but it's my job to come get you. We can't trust you. Fuck out of here. What did we learn from this? Have we learned anything from this? Turn on the news right now and you will see a different story, a different version, a different manifestation of fear-mongering. And you know what I'm talking about. I ain't even got to say it. How do you combat against this? Well, do your own research and be your own person and, you know, just, I don't know, man, make a choice. But make the smart choice. All right? Good Lord. How far are we? Where are we at right now? 37 minutes? What? Well, this was a great episode. We went through history. We talked about World War II, Bombardment of Elwood, the Battle of Los Angeles, Japanese internment camps, fear-mongering, and how it looks different, but it isn't different. So it doesn't matter what time period you are in, it's going to be there. And we also talked about how to combat against it. Shit, I mean, hell, what else do you want from a podcast episode that's the most widely available podcast in the world? We went back to our roots. I know longtime listeners of Podcaviar will be like, a history episode? Oh, Christmas came early, guys. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next episode, but this one right here felt amazing, okay? And this is up there with all of the other great episodes from Podcaviar that you cannot hear and you will miss out on if you don't subscribe and turn those notifications on. And hey, you got two ears, we got two podcasts. 1 Gram Army Podcast and Podcaviar. Subscribe there. Go to twitch.tv/nothavingit. Subscribe there. Go to twitch.tv/1 Gram Army. Gram is on there too. So search for the 1 Gram Army. Subscribe. Go to Shirt Caviar and drown yourself into the art. Dive in head first and just sink to the bottom. You will not leave unsatisfied. And if you want to wear some of this as a shirt, hoodie, if you want to hang it on the wall, do that. I want you to. Not only do I want you to, I want you to save money while doing it. So use code OGA at checkout for 10% off your order at shirtcaviar.com. And that's it. Thank you for listening to Podcaviar. I've been your host, Tony, and I'm out. Peace.